Hi, this is Mike from BandLab. With BandLab's array of included sounds, you can make music in whatever subgenre you like. In this video, we'll show you how to make 3 house music beats in soulful, progressive, and EDM styles. You can open this project yourself with the link in the video description. And if you find this guide useful, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be the first to know when new videos drop. First, we're going to make a soulful house beat. I'm going to keep the project tempo at the default 120 beats per minute, and begin by adding a virtual instrument track, setting it to drum pads 909. I add kicks on every beat of the first bar. I add claps on every other beat. I then place open hats between the beats. This sounds okay, but it needs some 16th note swing to really sound like Soulful House. I turned off BandLab's Snap to Grid function, which you can find in the Settings menu. I add a closed hat around halfway through the 8th 16th note, and turn its velocity down to 62 to make it a touch quieter. I also add a snare around halfway through the last 16th note of the bar, and again set its velocity to 62. Now that I'm done adding swung notes, I reactivate Snap to Grid. This time, I'm going to use the handy magnet icon rather than the menu. I duplicate this bar out for the rest of the 4-bar clip. To duplicate notes or clips in BandLab, hold Option on Mac or Alt on Windows and drag them over. I'd like this beat to sound louder, so in the effects panel, I add a Dynamics BL1176 compressor. That sounds good to me. Let's make a Prague House beat next. For this, I'm going to add a virtual instrument track, and this time set it to drum pads, New House. I place kicks on every beat of the bar. I then add claps on every other beat, turning their velocity down to 55. I then put hats between the beats, turning their velocity down to 66. Next, I deactivate Snap to Grid and place a side stick about a third of the way through the final 16th note of the third beat. I set the velocity of this hit to 55. I reactivate Snap to Grid. I duplicate the MIDI out for the rest of the 4-bar clip. I feel like this beat could do with a ride, but the New House kit doesn't include one. So I create a new virtual instrument track, and set this one to drum pads 909. I sequence rides on every beat, duplicating them out for the rest of the clip. The ride is a little loud, so I set this track to -9 dB. The ride also sounds a touch dry to me, so in the effects panel, I add a reverb, studio reverb. That's sounding cool. Now it's time to make an EDM loop. For this, I'm going to use samples from BandLab's sounds rather than one of the ready-made kits. So I add a sampler track. I open BandLab's sounds and enter EDM into the text search field. I open the Melodic EDM Volume 1 pack. Kit 2 Drum Kick 128 4-bar sounds good to me. So I drag it onto the first sample pad and drag the sample end marker to the end of the first kick drum. Now I can place the single kick drum sound as I wish. I add kicks on each beat of the bar. Next I drag Kit 2 Drum Hi-Hat 128 4-bar onto the second pad. I use the sample start and end markers so that this pad just plays a single hat with no unwanted silence at the start. I sequence this between the beats and turn these notes' velocities down to 74. Next I want to use Kit 2 Drum Ride 128 4-bar. I add it to the third pad and use the sample end marker to isolate a single ride. I place these on every beat, turning the velocity down to 64. The final sound I add is Kit 1 Drum Stadium Clap 128 4-bar, which I crop using the sample end marker and sequence on every other beat. I duplicate this beat out for the rest of the clip. So there you've seen how to make these 3 different types of house beats in BandLab. Remember, you can fork this project and make your own version of it using the link in the video description. Have fun!